Okay, picture this. One piece of paper, one signature. No Congress, no vote, no permission from anybody. And with that single pen stroke, a president made it a crime for you to own gold. Another one signed a paper that put 100,000 of his own citizens behind barbed wire. Another one tried to seize every steel mill in America in a single night. No new law, no debate, just a signature. That is an executive order, and it is the single most powerful pen on planet Earth. Now, most of them are boring. Genuinely, most are paperwork nobody reads. But a handful of them? A handful pushed the Constitution right up to the edge of breaking. Some got the president slapped down by the Supreme Court. Some are still running your life right now in 2026, and you don't even know it. And I'm going to be honest with you, the most recent one on this list? It's a lot closer to home than you think. I'm Captain Pip. I've got the whole file open, so let's get into it. Here's the rule I keep right here on my desk, and it has never once been wrong. One signature, no Congress, no vote. Watch how far that goes. Here's the thing. It didn't start scary. The very first executive actions were about as dangerous as a birthday card. George Washington, 1793. He signs a proclamation basically saying, hey, in the war between Britain and France, we're staying out of it. America is neutral. That's it. That's the big scary power at the start. Let's not get involved. Terrifying stuff, right? He even used one to declare a national day of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving! So the pen starts out gentle, a polite little tool for polite little announcements. A president clearing his throat and saying something official. And then presidents figured out what it could actually do. And it got dark fast. Because here's the part that matters, and I need you to lock this in, because it's the key to the whole video. There's no rule book that says how big an executive order is allowed to be. The Constitution never even uses the words executive order. Not once. Go look. It's not in there. So the size of it? The limit of it? That's whatever the president is willing to try. And it turns out some of them were willing to try an awful lot. Here's where the pen stops being polite. Let's start with the guy on the $5 bill. Abraham Lincoln, 1861. The Civil War is days old. Washington is basically undefended, and it's surrounded by slave states that might jump to the other side any second. Maryland is boiling. Mobs are attacking Union troops. Somebody is burning the rail bridges and cutting the telegraph lines. So Lincoln does something no president had ever done. He suspends habeas corpus. Okay, quick translation because this one matters. Habeas corpus is the rule that says the government can't just grab you and hold you forever with no trial. It's the thing standing between you and a cell. Lincoln switched it off. Along the whole corridor from Washington to Philadelphia, the military could now arrest people and just hold them. No charge, no trial, no nothing. And they did. One of them was a Maryland guy named John Merryman, hauled out of his house at 2 in the morning and thrown in a fort. Now here's where it gets wild. Merryman's lawyers go to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the actual Chief Justice, Roger Taney. And Taney rules against the president. He says flat out, you can't do this. Only Congress can suspend habeas corpus. Not you, Mr. Lincoln. So what does Lincoln do? He ignores him. I'm not making that up. The President of the United States looked at the Chief Justice of the United States and just kept going. He later stood up in front of Congress and basically asked, should I let the whole country fall apart just to protect one single law? That is the President versus the Supreme Court, round 1. And the President won by pretending the referee wasn't there. Buckle up, because it only escalates from here. 1933, the Great Depression. The economy is a smoking crater. And Franklin Roosevelt looks at your gold. Your gold. And he decides he wants it. April 5th. He signs Executive Order 6102. And with that one signature, it becomes illegal for you to own gold. Not we'd prefer you didn't. Illegal. A crime. You had until May 1st, about 25 days, to march your gold coins and your gold bars down to the bank and hand them over. And if you didn't, get this, up to $10,000 in fines or up to 10 years in prison. $10,000 in 1933 is about $250,000 today for keeping your own gold. They paid you $20.67 an ounce. Fair enough, right? Except, right after everyone handed it in, Roosevelt jacked the official price up to $35 an ounce. You see the move? He buys your gold cheap, then instantly makes it worth way more. The government pockets the difference and your dollar loses more than half its value overnight. Dodged a bullet, sir? No, you handed him the bullet. And here's the twist people always get wrong. You've probably heard the story that thousands of Americans got dragged to prison for hiding gold, that the feds seized everybody's safes. Total myth. That they'll seize your safe version going around? It's a straight-up forgery. Somebody faked the order to make it scarier. In reality, there was basically one guy prosecuted. One. A New York lawyer. And even his case got tossed out on a technicality because the order was signed by the president instead of the Treasury Secretary. So no, they didn't jail thousands. But it doesn't matter because they didn't have to. Almost everybody just handed it over. That's the scary part. One piece of paper and a whole country opened its safes. Oh, and it stayed illegal to own gold in America until 1974. 41 years. Wild. And here's a little kicker I love. Because they melted down almost all the gold coins, one particular coin, the 1933 Double Eagle, became the rarest coin on the planet. The government literally has a standing warrant to seize them. One of the legal ones later sold for over $18 million. From a coin that was supposed to be destroyed because of that one signature. But that same pen, in that same man's hand, signed something far darker. And this is the one I want you to actually sit with for a second. February 1942. Pearl Harbor has just been attacked. The country is terrified. And Roosevelt signs Executive Order 9066. On paper, it just lets the military declare certain zones off limits. It doesn't even say the word Japanese. But everyone knew exactly what it was for. Over the next months, more than 100,000 people of Japanese descent were rounded up on the West Coast and sent to guarded camps in the middle of nowhere. And here's the part that should stop you cold. Around 2 out of every 3 of them were American citizens, born here, as American as anyone. They lost their homes, their farms, their businesses. Families were given days to pack one suitcase each and leave everything else behind forever. Picture that. You get a notice on your door. You have a few days. Whatever fits in one bag, you keep. The house your family built, the shop you spent your whole life on, the dog in the yard, all of it, gone. And you've done nothing wrong. No charges, no trial, no crime. Just their ancestry. One signature did that. To 100,000 of its own people. The camps didn't close until 1944, and it took the United States over 4 decades to formally apologize and pay each surviving person $20,000. An apology that arrived for many of them far too late. That one stays with you. So let's take a breath and talk about what happens when a president finally reaches too far and somebody stops him. 1952. Harry Truman. The Korean War is on, and America's steelworkers are about to go on strike. Every steel mill in the country about to go dark. Now, steel is everything in a war. No steel, no tanks, no guns, no bullets for the guys already fighting overseas. So Truman decides he's just going to take the mills. All of them. Think about how bold that is. Not tax them. Not fine them. Take them. The single most powerful private industry in the country, and the president is going to walk in and put the federal government in charge overnight. April 8th. He signs Executive Order 10340 and seizes 87 steel companies in one move. The federal government now runs American Steel. His argument? I'm the commander-in-chief. There's a war on. This is an emergency. I can do this. And the steel companies said, yeah, no, see you in court. And this time, watch closely, because this is the moment the pen finally hits a wall. It goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. Youngstown Sheet and Tube versus Sawyer. And 20 days after the arguments, the court rules. 6-3 against the president. They said it plain. You are not a king. You cannot just seize private companies because you feel like it's an emergency. That is not your power. It's Congress's. Truman had to give all 87 mills back within about 2 months. And that case? Law students still study it today. It is the case that says there's a line the president's pen cannot cross. Truman found the line by smacking right into it. Finally, right? Somebody said no. But hold on. Because the very same power that just got slapped down a few years later, it gets used for something genuinely heroic. 1957, Little Rock, Arkansas. The Supreme Court has already said schools have to desegregate. 9 black teenagers are supposed to walk into Central High School, and the governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus, says no. He calls out the Arkansas National Guard, not to protect the kids, to block them, to physically stop 9 children from going to school. There's a mob. They're screaming. It's on television all over the world. So President Eisenhower makes a decision, and he reaches for the exact same pen. Executive Order 10730. And with that one signature, he does 2 enormous things. He takes control of the entire Arkansas National Guard away from the governor. All 10,000 of them now answer to the president. And then he sends in the big one, the 101st Airborne. Elite U.S. Army paratroopers, 1,000 of them, to Little Rock. And the next morning, those battle-hardened soldiers formed up and escorted 9 black kids through a screaming mob and into school. Bayonets fixed. 1 soldier basically per student. Think about that image for a second. The most powerful army on earth, deployed not for war, but to walk 9 teenagers safely to class. One of those students, a 15-year-old girl named Melba, wrote in her diary that night. She wrote, "Please help the soldiers keep the mobs away from me." 15 years old, and that's the prayer she's writing before her first day of school. Same pen, same power that locked people in camps and seized the steel mills. This time, it protected the people who needed it most. That's the whole thing about this power, and I need you to really hear it. It isn't good or evil. It's just a signature. Everything depends on whose hand is holding it. Here's one you don't feel dramatic, but you are literally living inside it right now. 1961. John F. Kennedy signs Executive Order 10925. Kind of a boring number, but buried in the text is a phrase that would start 60 years of argument. 2 words: affirmative action. That's where the phrase was born, right there, in one Kennedy signature. It told companies working for the government, you have to actively make sure you're not discriminating by race. Not just try not to, actively do something about it. And that one order set off a chain reaction. Lyndon Johnson expanded it. Nixon expanded it more. It grew into the biggest, most explosive debate about race and hiring and college admissions in American headlines. Still going. In 2023, the Supreme Court struck a huge chunk of it down for college admissions. People are still fighting about a phrase 2 words long that a president slipped into an order in 1961. You have argued about this executive order at some point. Maybe at dinner, maybe online. You just had no idea it started as one man's signature in 1961. Wild, right? Quick one, because this one is just bananas. 1971. Richard Nixon. Inflation is climbing and he wants it to stop. So he signs an order and freezes it. All of it. Every wage, every price in the entire country. Frozen for 90 days. Your paycheck? Can't go up. The price of a burger? Can't go up. A car, a haircut, a gallon of milk? Locked. Nationwide. By one signature. A president just hit pause on the entire American economy for 3 months. Peacetime. No war. Just everybody stop. Can you even imagine that today? One guy, one pen, freezes every price in the country before lunch. And look, it's not just the famous ones. This is the part that gets me. Every single president reaches for this pen. Every one. Andrew Jackson used federal muscle to force native nations off their land, straight into the Trail of Tears. And when the Supreme Court told him he couldn't, he ignored them too. Thousands died on that march. Same defiance as Lincoln, nowhere near the same cause. And get this, Jimmy Carter created an entire federal agency, FEMA, the disaster people you see after every hurricane, with basically one signature in 1979. A whole agency. One pen. Ronald Reagan and every president after him just undo each other. There's one order about foreign aid and abortion that literally flips every single time the White House changes party. On, off. On, off. Like a light switch every 4 years. George W. Bush, right after 9/11, signed a secret order letting the government listen to phone calls without a warrant. Secret. Nobody knew for years. Obama shielded hundreds of thousands of young immigrants from deportation with a pen. The courts fought him on it for years. Biden came into office and signed 9 executive orders on day 1. Day 1. A record. And it keeps going. Clinton used them. Every modern president fires off dozens. The tool that started as a polite little Thanksgiving note is now the fastest way in the world to change a country. And they have all figured that out. See the pattern? Left, right, war hero, peacenik, doesn't matter. They all reach for the same pen. Every single one. Which brings us to the most recent firestorm on this list. And this is the one I told you was closer to home. January 27, 2017. Donald Trump, 1 week into the job, signs Executive Order 13769. It slams the door on travelers from 7 countries, suspends refugees. And the reaction was instant, like within hours. People rushed to airports all over the country, massive protests right there in the terminals. Lawyers set up on the floor of the arrivals halls typing lawsuits on their laptops. And think about who got caught in it that first weekend. Not just tourists, doctors flying back to their own hospitals, students trying to get back to school, grandmothers who'd been visiting grandkids, people with valid visas mid-flight when the order dropped who landed as suddenly legal problems. That's how fast one signature moves. You take off in one country, and by the time you land, the rules of the whole nation have changed under you. The courts jumped in fast and blocked the first version, so the White House rewrote it. Then rewrote it again. A third version finally made it through, and in 2018 the Supreme Court upheld that one. Now, I'm not here to tell you it was good or bad. That's your call, not mine. Half of you cheered and half of you were at that airport protesting, and you both felt it in your gut. That's the point. This isn't dusty history. This is the same one signature power, the same courtroom fights, playing out in your lifetime, on your phone, on the news you watched. Lincoln did it with a pen. FDR did it with a pen. And presidents are still doing it, right now, today. So here's where we landed. One signature made gold illegal. One put 100,000 citizens in camps. One seized every steel mill in America. One sent paratroopers to walk kids into school. And one is still being fought over in the news this week. No Congress, no vote, just a pen. And that rule on my desk? One signature, no Congress, no vote. It held up for every single one of them. But here's where I need your help, because I've got another file open, and this one is even bigger. If a president can do all that with a pen out in the open, in broad daylight on the news, then think about it. Just imagine what they've done that they never wanted you to see at all. The secret orders. The stuff that stayed classified for decades. The things they signed and prayed would never come out. I'm connecting the dots on all of it, and I could genuinely use another set of eyes. That file's sitting right here. Click it and let's keep digging. I'm Pip, I'll see you in the next one.